So first of all, let me give you a basic picture of the nominal construction spending or investment from 2002 to 2019. So in the 2019 data, which is the annualized first quarter data. So in this chart, the blue bar or purple bar is residential investment. Yellow bar is private non-residential investment, which in as a presentation is structural. And the green bar is a public non-residential investment, which is like a school, highway, road, those kind of investment, mostly done by government, state, and local government. So as we can see, residential investment is the dominant force in this construction investment. All right, so right now, let's kind of turn this to the growth rate, annual growth rate, adjusted by inflation, corresponding inflation for these three major sectors. So again, in this chart, the purple line is the residential investment growth rate, and the red line is structural, private non-residential, and the green line is public non-residential. So we can see over the past year and this quarter, actually, residential investment is pretty weak. Actually, it's negative, and then the first quarter is even more so. And if we look at the whole history, way back to 2005, 2006, actually we can see indeed, just like Ed has been saying that residential investment indeed seems like a leading indicator of the economic business cycle. And as opposed to private non-residential investment, which is a little bit lagging behind by 1 year or two. But we can see from 2012 to 2016, 17, residential investment was doing very well, but not less so over the past 2 years. All right, so right now let's take a deeper look at the detailed subsectors in the private non-residential investment. So this is the nominal spending by A9 major subsector. So on the top, we can see this purple line, very volatile investment sector is oil, gas, and mining sector. So we can see in 2015-16, it had a very significant downturn. I believe that is majorly due to the collapse of the oil price. But right now, since the oil price recovered, we see this kind of investment coming back. And so basically, over the past decade, it is the major construction investment. As you might know or not, right now, United States is the #1 energy oil producer in the world. And our exports on energy is helping our total export growth a lot. So followed by the power sector, which is the red line, and the office, manufacturing, healthcare, lodging. So by and large, we might not be see clearly office sector and lodging hotel sector are doing pretty well over the past several years. Okay, so right now let's switch the focus on the cost, the price. So we know the steel is the major input goods for the construction. And we had heard from David and Jerry and Ed talking about this trade tension. So we remember last year, on March 1st, United States imposed this so-called global tariff on steel imports. And then on June 1st, we include that tariff for Canada and Mexico. Okay, so let's see how that impacts our steel imports and the steel price. So on the left is a little bit long-term steel price. So the purple line or blue line, the purple line is the import price index for steel, and the red line is the producer price index for steel. seasonal adjust. So basically, these two lines go in tandem. We can see it's very volatile over time because this is a global commodity. And since 2004, it has rise dramatically, and I believe the major reason is because of the rise of China in terms of their rapid urbanization, causing the higher demand of the steel, and the downturn during the recession. And then 2015, it also had a huge drop because of this kind of weak demand for the steel in terms of industry production. But since then, it recovered rapidly. So on the right is a smaller window of this steel price. Since 2016, it had been rising. And so there are two vertical dash lines. The first dash line is the March 1st. Is the first time we imposed this tariff with some kind of exemption of some country like South Korea. And we do see the steel price rise after that kind of tariff imposition. However, the second one, which is June 1st, we imposed with Canada and Mexico. Remember, Canada accounts about 20% of our steel imports, and Mexico accounts 10%. All right, but interestingly, after that, actually steel price very stable, and then over the past several months, actually it declined. So why is that? Why this kind of against our common understanding? The tariff will cause the rise of the price. Okay, so here let me give you the idea of how that tariff impact our imports and production of the steel. On the left, represent our steel imports by the million metric tons. So we can see 2018, indeed, our imports volume declined by 3.9 million metric tons because of the tariff. And in the middle, yellow bar represents the total value. Total value doesn't change that much, probably increase a little bit, and that represents the unit price of the steel increase for imports. But on the right, we see another response of this kind of tariff. Actually, our United States domestic steel production increased by 5.4 million metric tons. So I believe that kind of increased supply offset that kind of negative impact by the tariff. Okay. So the other thing I want to focus on demand side. So here, this is the year-over-year growth rate for the United States Industry Production Index. For that is a green line, and the red line is the Producer Price Index for steel. It's also year-over-year growth rate. So the green line, Industry Production Index, is on the right scale, and the red line, Producer Price for steel, is on the left scale. So we can see that's highly correlated, these two things, all right? And during the 15 downturn, the production activity declined, so the demand for steel declined, so the price of steel declined. And then let it recover. And in the recent months, as we have heard from Ed and Davey, the activity also declined, slowed down, so is this demand for the steel, so the price also slowed down. So basically, right now, the price is kind of going back to about the same period last year. Okay, and the other thing is very interesting as well. So in this chart, the purple line is the total steel industry production index, and the red line is steel for construction only. And we can see, for whatever reason, there's a huge surge of the production of the steel for construction for the second half of 2018. Okay, so here, this purple line, red line is the steel price, and the green line is the price index for construction, so which is much more smoother because construction for goods actually include other things like lumber, like sands, like some kind of rental equipment, which is smoother than this kind of commodity of steels. Okay, so right now let's talk about another important input cost of construction, which is construction workers. So here in this chart, the red line represents the growth rate, wage growth rate for construction worker, and the purple line represents the wage growth rate for total private industry. Okay, so this is a year-over-year growth rate with 3 months moving average. So by and large, we see this kind of more volatile situation. Before 2009, the Great Recession, construction worker had higher growth rate. During the downturn after the recession, it had lower growth rate. But over the past several years, since 2014, actually, construction workers had a higher growth rate, represent there might be a tight labor supply in construction workforce. Okay, and this is another information of the wage distribution. So on the left is 10th percentile in terms of wage of construction workers across 15 major metropolitan area, and we can see they don't differ that much. On the right is 19th percentile construction workers' wage, means high-skilled worker like elevator, those kind of inspector, and we can see some kind of larger difference. For example, workers in New York got paid almost 19th percentile workers almost got paid like $120,000 as opposed to $65,000, in Miami. Okay, and this is another thing is New York Metro followed by Los Angeles. They had a very largest construction workforce among these 20 major metropolitan area. Okay, and this blue line is 2018, and yellow bar is 2009. So we can see kind of a difference during the downturn of the Great Recession and right now. So New York has a dramatic increase followed by Los Angeles. Okay, so finally, conclusion. So the energy sector has seen the largest investment during the past several years, with increased activity in oil and gas facility as the United States become the largest energy producer with a rapid surge of the energy exports. Right. The steel tariff caused a rise of the steel price growth rate in early 2018, but its growth rate slowed down in the second half, and right now because of the weak demand and kind of strong supply of the steel. And finally, construction labor wage growth about 3% or 3.5% actually was a little bit higher than the private industry, which maybe signify a very tight labor market supply in construction workforce. Thank you very much.